Well, hello there, and welcome to the Devon Business Show 2025. We are live! Yay! I was just going to say, put your headphones on. This is like the radio, you know. You got to wear these because it looks cool. No other technical reason. Actually, it is quite a noisy environment here, so it's nice to have these on because we can actually hear ourselves speak. As for hearing ourselves think, that's probably a different question altogether. Right, so this is the very first live stream from the Plymouth Life Centre as we bring you the Devon Business Show 2025, brought to you by the Devon Chamber of Commerce. And first and foremost, we need to give a massive thank you to our good friends at DCW Devon Contract Waste, and they are looking after us this year by supporting the live streams. Thank you very much. Now, we've got a chief representative from Devon Contract Waste and some other businesses sat to my right, and I'm going to ask them all to introduce themselves. So let's start from the very end, but of course the most important, Sire.
Thank you.
Your
very
lordship.
Kind. No, it's very kind. I'm Brett. I'm from Devon Contract Waste. I've worked for the company 4+ years. I'm the business coordination manager. Mm-hmm. So I would like to think that anything waste, anybody can ask me a question, I should be able to figure out the answer.
So does that mean today we're going to be talking rubbish?
We're going to be talking rubbish.
No change there then. And then who do we have? Piggy in the middle there. But not really. Yeah. I didn't mean it like that.
Hello, I'm Miss Piggy.
Oh, no. And so it's begun. Dear me.
No, my name's Kerry Pollard. I am one of the directors. It's me and my husband that run Falcon Environmental Services. We are a bird, pest and wildlife management company. Uh-huh. We also deliver specialist cleaning and environmental cleaning. And we've been running our business for over a decade together. So hopefully I can answer any questions on pest and bird related issues.
Yes,
Lovely.
already we're doing well.
Excellent. Yes, very well indeed. And I'll be looking forward to a bit of specialist cleaning probably at some point in my life. And then to my right, who do we have?
Hi, my name is Bethan Rose.
Move that down there.
Oh, is that better?
Oh yeah, that's much better. Nice, yes.
My name is Bethan Rose. I am the General Manager for an environmental and educational charity called Society, and we are very lucky to be here thanks to YGS Landscapes, who's sponsored our stand today.
Fantastic.
Really nice.
The headline interview title of this kind of like panel, as it were, is The World Around Us. We want to talk about environmental issues and how important it is for everybody, not just consumers, but also businesses that actually, I suppose you could argue, make it all to begin with, and kind of like, all the rubbish kind of comes from us as businesses. So I'll ask Brett. Brett, how important is the environment and looking at your supply chain and what happens to the waste that you create as a business?
What I like that you said there was supply chain, which fits in nicely to the prop that we can't see, which we're all staring at, which says reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yes.
So if you actually look at your supply chain, scope-free emissions, can we pick a company that uses renewable energy? Let's not talk about collecting the waste. Let's talk about how we can actually prevent it. Can we remove it? Can we reduce it? Can we reuse it? Can we recycle it? The box that I've got in front of us there, I was really proud of that when I received that box. This is exciting, the box. It is a cardboard box, and on it says reduce, reuse, recycle. So they're embedding the message into the person that's going to get it from the offset, just with a simple paper label on the front. And as a supply chain, that's exciting because it creates change subliminally when I got that box.
Now, you seem very proud of this box, and it's quite an apt box. Would you like us to get the box for you?
If you wouldn't mind, let's have a little look at the box.
We'll ask our executive producer, Mr. Martin Burgess-Moon, if he can please get the box, which is just over there. Yes, this is the most exercise he's done all week, so we're doing him a favour.
You're welcome.
Here we go. This is the box. Bring it into vision. So tell us a bit more about why this box again is so important to you. And we've all heard this phrase: reduce, reuse, recycle.
Well, that's good because a lot of people haven't. That's the waste hierarchy. So can we remove it? Can we reduce it? It's really important because at that point there is no waste. The same with using recyclable material. Reusing a bottle rather than going and getting a plastic bottle. That's why we have those coffee cups. It's the same sort of principle. So messaging like this, it's an educational piece. Not a lot of people know this message out there, certainly businesses. So it is important to get that message out to businesses. Sort of one challenge that would be the biggest mistakes people make it is in sourcing packaging. How can we be more?
Yeah.
What can we do that's greener? And
Absolutely.
it brings us on to we were talking about the control and the bird control. How can we? Is it the falcon you've got?
Yeah.
So the falconry that will scare off the seagulls without actually having an effect on anything. So that's a natural way, local. It stops that.
There is no waste.
Let's actually bring Kerry in here because if a business doesn't look after their waste and they're not paying the right due care and attention to things like waste transfer, how they store their waste,
Yeah.
it's only going to attract the very kind of thing that you're thankfully here to get rid of. That's the vermin.
Yeah. I mean, it will attract vermin. It will attract pest birds because it's a food source for rodents. It's a food source for birds, and so the more you attract them into the area, the more comfortable they are. From a rodent's perspective, they're looking for food, water, and harbourage, and so if you provide them with that, they're going to make themselves really comfortable there. And same from a bird situation. If you're providing food on a regular basis, then they're going to want to stay there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that then comes with lots of secondary problems. So when we speak to our clients, we're looking at their waste management, and we're definitely advising them if it's not where it needs to be.
Is it not fair to say that though you can try your absolute best, but what's the saying? You're never more than 3 feet
couple of
away
meters,
from a rat. It can still be a problem, even if you're ticking all the boxes and doing your absolute utmost to get it right.
Yeah, we always look at making sure that you put in prevention rather than cure. So, we're looking at advising them on the things that they can do to help prevent, but the likelihood is that you can't eliminate completely. And so in those moments, it's right, well, let's make sure that we're monitoring your site, and if there is any activity, then we're dealing with that straight away. That we're looking at ways in which they're proofing their property so that they're not moving inwards. And so that prevention rather than cure is a really sustainable way to look at it.
Now, Bethan's here from Society and also has experience of YGS landscapes. Now, you have a different view with regards to the world around us and improving the environmental impact that we as businesses have.
Absolutely. So essentially, we plant microforests into primary schools. The theory behind a microforest means that we can plant an awful lot of trees in a very small space, so it's perfect for urban planting. So the message we're trying to get across to businesses themselves is that yes, you can be incredibly conscious about your impact. You can tick all of the right boxes to say that yes, we're sourcing our packaging from the right places, etc., etc. But can you see the impact that you're having in your surrounding area? So rather than looking at paying to offset, for example, can you get out and see what's happening in your local area and actually make a difference? So you've got, yes, the social value definitely comes into it, but I suppose it's difficult because we all know that we want to be seen to be doing something to give back to the environment. But do those tick boxes actually make a difference? And are they happening here on your doorstep? Do you know that as the child that's just walked past you in the street, is it going to have an effect on them as basically they are the next curators of our planet? Do they know about what you're doing, and do they see the effects of that? So that's what we're trying to...
Planting trees is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it takes all the nasties out of the air. And it puts oxygen back in, and it goes back to the basis that we're all taught in schools, the educational piece, which I'm glad you mentioned. So we do the same thing. We run in parallel. We do a lot of activities at schools. We did one recently, Farmwise at West Point, which was an activity where we laid some cards down. And what we did is, a group of 15 kids, we had to map out the journey of food. So simpler recycling has confused a lot of businesses. Is it us? Is it me? What do I do? What's this about the food? When's it in place? It's already there, so we should be doing it. The idea is it's simpler. What we're trying to do is we're trying to bring that simple approach back to the seeds that grow, the seeds that develop, and just mapping out this circular piece of how you can get a piece of food, some crust, a crust from somebody's sandwiches, a child's crust, how it goes into picks up in a lorry, how it then gets poured into an anaerobic digestion facility, how it then goes from that and its microorganisms break it down, how it turns to power, how the TVs, you can get 12 hours of TV for a ton of waste in an energy recovery centre.
I want to pick up on that, actually, if I may, because your slogan is zero to landfill.
Okay.
Yeah? Zero to landfill. So you literally have a recycling or some kind of repurposing methodology for all the waste that gets to you. I guess maybe not all of it, because I can imagine there's some stuff that has to be destroyed in some other method, but
Yep.
you're really working hard to make sure there's a bigger cycle behind what goes into the bin.
Yes, it's important. It's that piece again. It goes back to doing the right things, and like you said, make that change, do it, take pride, use the recycling bins. There are always some items that are going to be difficult to get rid of as waste. There's a level of it's a bit different, but quite simply the waste, the residual waste, and the cardboard, and we want to be making a resource. It's about waste isn't waste. We don't want waste as a waste. We want that as a resource. We want to be able to turn that cardboard into more cardboard. That's where we need to be. So,
And
yeah.
the education, I think, is the most important point along all of that, isn't it? That yes, you're going through all of these processes, but what are you passing on? What legacy are you leaving as
Yeah.
a business? So that's when we're planting our trees, we're not just going in and planting them and then walking away. We're making sure that that next generation have their legacy in front of them. They know exactly why they've planted them,
Yep.
what it's going to do for our planet, and also where the gaps are as well, because you never know what that would spark in a young environmental scientist,
Yeah.
for example.
But let me ask you all this question. There are a lot of pressures on local businesses, small businesses at the moment, in particular those that are micro businesses, the bottom end, the SME, the S's and smaller. Is this all just not just another thing that is adding to the expense, the complication, the red tape or green tape, for one of a better way of putting it, that businesses have to face? And what argument would you give to small businesses that they should try harder and should dedicate a bit more money
There's a
towards
few
these
arguments.
kind of concepts?
And it's on a case-by-case basis. So as a waste company, we look at everybody and tailor it to what they need, in the sense that somebody might not have a particular type of waste, so we wouldn't do it. Food waste, the simpler recycling piece, micro businesses don't need to do it yet. You mentioned micro businesses, not till 2027. So that's people with under 10 employees.
Yeah.
Everybody with 10 plus employees are supposed to meet the simple recycling legislation that's come out. Wales, it's completely different. They segregate it even more in depth. So we can tailor it, we can look at it. Sometimes by taking the food waste out of a general waste bin, yes, it's doing the right thing and it's got a regular collection, but it could reduce the cost because it's cheaper to dispose of food waste because we can turn it into gas, we can turn it into a mulch, a slurry that can go onto farmland. So we're making greater use of that. And by making greater use of this, we will try and reward that. We want it to happen.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. Bethan, Kerry, go on. Kerry.
Sorry.
No, I was just thinking, I think we've all got a responsibility to do our bit, and actually our suppliers are expecting that, our customers are expecting that, and I think, it's just moving forward, and that can only be a positive thing. When it becomes complicated, we need the educational process, because we need to go, well, what can you do that makes it simple? Who can you turn to help you when you just don't know? And so, having these kinds of events, that really helps. It really helps, meeting you and thinking, well, how can your business
You're
help
very kind.
mine? And it's really handy. It's really helpful.
Look at it this way: if the cost is the same,
Yeah,
but
and you're
you
doing
can
your
track
bit.
the waste,
I agree.
it's more
Yeah.
sustainable, it's
Yeah.
greener. You can
I
have some
agree.
confidence in what's happening. What's the no-brainer?
Yeah.
And when you're saying about events like this, and I'll bring Bethan in because I know you wanted to interject just now. Events like this actually give the opportunity to see somebody, meet somebody, kind of challenge you and ask the questions. Oh, I'm only running a small business, what do I actually need to do? And you'll help people with their budgets. You'll help people with their concerns and complications.
Or be in that business and going, I didn't realise that I needed that help, but I do actually.
Yeah,
And
exactly,
so
yeah.
that's great that I'm in this environment where I'm able to learn and take that back to our business and move forward with it.
Yes,
I think
Bethan.
as Kerry said, it's that responsibility for any of us who know what time we live in. We live in a time of environmental uncertainty. We don't know what is necessarily happening with our planet from year to year, but it's bringing that responsibility into the real, the local impact. What am I doing? What is my business doing? And then what is happening out in the wider impact from the business that I have? And it's taking that personal responsibility just to start off with. I know we say it, but every little thing that you can do as a person is going to be more than not doing it. So it's not only the education of the next generation, but we need to continue that education of ourselves, because there's always something new coming out, which I'm sure
Yeah.
you both
Oh, I've got a
yourself
list
know.
of things.
Bet you
I've
have,
got a
yeah.
list of things that are new that are coming out, just in case anybody asks about it. There's ETS, DRS, there's all sorts of terms, abbreviations, and that's where it gets confusing in the waste world. There's 2027, there's a number of things that are coming up that will affect cost. You mentioned cost. It is important to businesses, but what we try and do is the innovation. I noticed innovation on your board, which I liked. The innovation piece, if you don't move with the times, you're just going to be thrown a landfill hole, which will create more methane, which will pollute the earth even more than... We don't want that. So we're trying to stay on top of it.
And the research that is coming out daily, I think it changes your thinking, doesn't it? I mean, we're using a relatively new planting method that's come from a Japanese botanist,
Okay.
about densely planting the trees rather than the traditional woodland planting where you don't
What does that
implement
do?
competition. So by densely planting them, you are mimicking nature. So when a tree drops its seeds, it doesn't go, right, I'm just going to put one there, and then I'm going to go 2 meters, and I'm going to put one
No,
there.
it doesn't. No.
It drops them, they get mixed up, they will naturally, one will prosper, one might not so much, but it will then die down and feed the one that has.
Yep.
So the idea behind it is that they do this wonderful, if you get a certain mix where you've got a shrub layer, subdominant, and then your canopy level, they all, as long as they're native trees, native to the country, they will do this wonderful mix of competing against each other, which can make them grow up to 10 times faster than a traditional woodland, at the same time as working as one. So they become this one microforest where they're talking to each other, they're feeding each other. This is the research that's coming out about trees now, about how one can die and give one that's poorly exactly what it needs in nutrients. Ash dieback, for example, they're starting to see that they're recovering, and it's absolutely fascinating, and that is our planet teaching us.
You're an example of why you ask an expert.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it, because
Yeah,
when
that
it
was
comes
impressive.
to... And also, I compare it to like a nightclub, but for plants.
Yeah.
A nightclub for plants. Wow.
Yeah.
There's our next marketing strategy.
Exactly. But what I think the three of you have proven is that when you're running a business, you don't have to take on board all the changes in legislation, changes in methodologies, and all the form filling and governance yourself. If you've got a particular area that you have challenged, you just go to an expert, because if you three find it hard to keep on top of things within your own individual areas of expertise, which is fair, because you've already all said it's a very fast changing landscape, if you excuse the pun, then it's impossible for business owners. So find an expert at the end of the day. Thank you very much to the three of you for joining us. Let's ask for your one top tip, putting you on the spot. I'm going to start with Brett, because I think Brett probably walks around with the whole mindful of top tips. Brett, your top tip to leave us with this morning.
Okay, it's a challenge, not a top tip. Coming up this Friday is National Reuse Day. Did any of you know that?
No.
No, because these things aren't publicised enough. So I would challenge every Devon business to reuse something. That would be my challenge. That's more of a final thought than a tip.
Good.
But anybody that does want to get in touch and know more about it, they're welcome to.
I might reuse my socks that day for a change. Something like that.
Let's keep environmentally and not damaging.
Yes, indeed. Kerry, your top tip or bit of advice to leave us with this morning?
I suppose it's just following on from what you said. You know, we can't all be experts. We don't know everything. We've got a wealth of businesses that support us and surround us within our community. So if we can't do it, and if you don't know how, outsource it. Go and find companies that can support you.
Well said. Bethan?
Local. Make sure what you're doing has a local impact. And if you're not sure what to do, collaboration. Exactly what Kerry and Brett have said. Work together. Come and see us. Come and plant a tree. Make sure that what you're doing is you can see it happening.
Excellent. So thank you very much to Brett Sinclair, Bethan Rose and Kerry Pollard, our three first guests this morning. Thank you to all three of you for joining us today. Give yourself a round of applause. We'll be talking local in our next interview as we find out about the exciting things that have happened to Plymouth, Britain's ocean city as a brand.